Alright, what up guys? Thank you Pomp. Today we're going to show you guys how to cook like an oil-based pomade, basically DIY, like a common, simple oil-based pomade. And so we're going to do that with Rocky Lopez of Rustin Pomade, the magic cook behind Rustin Pomade. So he's basically going to give us a quick overview of like just what we're going to see today.
Alright, so basically we're going to get something to heat up your ingredients with, scale, measuring tools, and time. So basically we're going to melt and pour a combination of wax and oil to yield the perfect pomade. Alright, shout out to Edwin of Pomp's Not Dead and Clayton of O'Dowd's for influencing me to start Rustin. Without you guys, I wouldn't be here. Alright, so basically first thing you want to do is you gotta figure out what kind of pomade you want. So let's say if you're trying to make a medium hold, which is what we're doing today, you would start out with basically selecting your ingredients. So we're gonna use today, it's gonna be some beeswax, some castor oil, and some petroleum, and a bit of fragrance oil. You can go more complex with pomade, but most of the times it's a really simple recipe that you just need those basically 3 ingredients. In my own recipes I use maybe 5 or 6 ingredients for oil base, but it just depends on how you want your pomade to perform, but we're doing something really simple. So basically I'm going to start out with 28 grams of beeswax, and then this one's going to be medium hold, petro base, so we're also going to do 28 grams of petro, and then about 20 grams of castor oil, and then optional, you can add a second oil, but you don't have to. And let's see, some people like to use lanolin, it makes it a little thicker, but we're just using petro and it's a lot cheaper, and it catches the fragrance a lot better, because lanolin's a really hard ingredient to mask since it's really smelly. So let's say, and then we want to use about 8 grams of fragrance. So this is going to yield about maybe 2 ounce, just as a little tester we're doing, but you can double the recipe and you get a whole 4 ounce. So zero out the scale.
So what is this?
This is beeswax. So we're doing 28 grams of beeswax. So let's do 28 grams. This is a white USP grade petroleum, which is like the medical grade. And honestly does not make a difference, but this is a lot easier to get for other people. So we have it measured out. Now let's see, what do we need? Castor oil. So this one is 20 grams of castor oil. Now the reason we use grams is in weight for liquid and solid is because it makes it a lot easier to count, and sometimes the metric system, well, the metric system in general is a lot easier to convert. So now you have your 3 main ingredients, which is the wax, the petroleum, and then the oils. We're gonna do some fragrance. This recipe calls for 8 grams of fragrance, which is usually what you'll need to have a strong fragrance. Let me use a drop. Usually 8 grams is all you'll need for like a strong, long-lasting fragrance. Some people use less. It just depends on how you want the fragrance to be in your product. also, you can use essential oils, but some of them are a lot more strong than fragrance oils, so you would maybe use less. Alright, so essentially what we're going to do now is have a thermometer on hand so you know what temperature your product is at. So right now it's at 238, which is really hot, but you can always turn that down and it just melts everything a lot faster. So here's first, I always like to melt the wax first. It doesn't really matter what order, but most of the times you can do the wax first just because it's usually the larger part of your recipe. And add the petroleum next. And then the castor oil. And the castor oil is really thick, so you don't want to spoon it out of the bowl or the cup you're using. So let it sit for about 5-10 minutes. Stir it around a little bit. You don't want to add the fragrance yet because you may end up burning it. So essentially you'll end up with a pomade that smells like nothing, which sometimes you don't want that. Alright, so it's almost done. I turned down the heat to 170, so that's where it's at right now. And at this point, once you see everything already melted, you're going to want to turn off the heat completely and let it sit for maybe 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, depending on how much you're melting and what the temperature you melted at. And the reason you want to let it sit, because if you pour into, let's say, a glass jar, it won't harden flat. Sometimes you'll notice that you'll get a hole in the middle from pouring too fast, and you don't want that unless you don't mind, but most of the times it does affect the consistency a little bit, but not too dramatically. And also we want to wait on the fragrance because some of the fragrance oils have a flash point to where if you overheat it, it burns, so you won't end up smelling anything in the product. So just let it sit for like 5-10 minutes. Heat off, glass in hand, to the side. Alright, now that our product's cooled, just give it a reading on the temperature. Make sure it's cool enough. Turn off the heat. Well, it's been off, but whatever. Then just dump the fragrance in there, and then give it a little stir so you can mix evenly. And if you let this sit for too long, you'll find that it hardens a little bit. You see on the spatula, you can see it's a little hard, but that shouldn't be a problem. You can just throw it back inside the mix and it should melt. And give it a reading on the temperature. You always want to have your thermometer on hand just so you know what the temperature of your product is. Sometimes you might end up twisting the knob too much to where it ends up being too hot. And just pour it straight into the jar. And let it cool for about maybe 5-10 minutes. Alright, so this is the final product we're left with. So basically you can see by the texture it's a little waxy, and you can scoop it out, see how you like it. See it is a little waxy. Rub it in your hands and you feel that little grip. So essentially it's going to give you a medium hold. As you see, it has no chunks. This is basically one of the easiest recipes to, achieve just a well-rounded pomade. Nothing too fancy about it. You can add more stuff to it, like several types of oils, shea butter, lanolin to make it more sticky. Or you can use different kind of waxes like soy wax, candelilla wax.
and so forth. And for scenting it, you could use essential oils or fragrance oils, but we did fragrance oils for these. And yeah, basically that's the basics to it. Probably the biggest key in making a good pomade, patience and testing, because one, you gotta be patient to get good results, and testing it, you gotta, try it out so you know how it's gonna work, and so you can let other people know. So this has been a basic tutorial on how to make your own pomade. Try it out. What up?